Good evening, everyone. My name is Preeti. I'm here with my friend Abhishek and Saad. We'll be talking about securing new financial services in a cloud environment. Um, uh, I'll be talking about organizational policies. These are the outline I'll be covering today. For background, cloud computing that has become more important technological enabler for innovative service development over the last few years. Cloud allows industries to tap into new services models, utilizing its technological advancement for new and better services to customers, improving productivity, cost efficiency, and flexibility of internal business process. The financial sector is in the process of adopting new cloud computing to take advantage of the earlier mentioned benefits, new opportunities for services delivery to customers, serving their needs, etc. Organizational policies. Any organization needs to have a complete understanding of its current on-premise security capabilities, including its liabilities to adequate compared to cloud technology service, where it has to consider disaster recovery abilities, consider the ability for future expansion, consider on using managed service provider, which is specialized in migration. Also encourage implementation within financial service organization through a well-articulated message to stakeholders, board members, etc. What to look for in order to stay secure. Financial services organization infrastructure is very vital in order to maintain compliance driven and regulatory environment, as well as data security, either it is on premise or on the cloud. So we need to focus on those kind of points. Say responsibility of cloud. Platform as a service allows both users and for users to both build and manage application in cloud environment. Privileged access management solution are designed to authorize and authenticate users, give them only access when necessary, looking for threats from a variety of sources, ensuring proper configuration across all systems to make sure company is safe and secure. Well, SLA states the objective of the services and quality of output. Main issues is always regarding to data breach, data loss, modifying network traffic, illegal access to cloud systems. In order to prevent these things from happening, both providers and clients of cloud technologies are subject to multiple malicious actions. So by defining SLA scope well, defining response and resolution time based on priority can be beneficial. Apart from these, companies can allocate certain workloads in certain clouds. Here in Australia, legislation requires that some of or all data may be stored onshore. They need to ensure their instant backups are not stored publicly in cloud providers within Asia, America, or elsewhere. Well, these are the issues we need to focus on while designing the contract. Specific terms relating to potential damages, intellectual property rights, limitations of liability and warranty should be implemented in providers' contracts. Companies must clearly record its escalation level with predefined resolution time, assign responsibility to the right person, etc. Now I'm going to hand it over to my friend Abhishek. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek Khurana and I would be discussing the second aspect of the design specification, that is the legal and the regulatory requirements. Let's discuss about a few legal and regulatory standards as the data security is required. So these are necessary when dealing with data security, like Cloud Security Alliance, Privacy Act, and Australian consumer law, payment card industry. These are necessary when we are dealing with data security, and this would be further explained in the next slides that how these can be achieved. Let's start with data security and privacy. As we are dealing with Australian data, so the Privacy Act and the Australian consumer law is applied. There are few requirements to achieve that law, starting from the disclosure agreement of the data if the data is being stored overseas, and the cloud provider is responsible if there are any breach at the data offshore. And moreover, the cloud provider must provide an individual access of the data which is being stored, and even the cloud provider is responsible for the data is for being misused or being interfered by any third party or unauthorized access. Lastly, the data should be protected under this SLA agreement which is being done between both the parties. The second law for the data security and privacy we would be discussing would be the Cloud Security Alliance. For that law, the company needs to fully follow all the ISO requirements, which are the basic requirements for cloud security. Secondly, the documentation of the internal security control should be provided by the cloud provider. Thirdly, The cloud user should define all the sets of the responsibilities which would be discussed. As a cloud provider is dealing with the card payment, the cloud provider needs to have an SCI and DSS certification. For that, a cloud provider requires to use antivirus, firewalls. Moreover, the cloud provider needs to encrypt the data when the data is being transmitted over the public network or an open network. Furthermore, the cloud provider requires to restrict the physical access when dealing with cloud or cardholders' data. Moreover, there is a mandatory requirements to store the logs and the need of log management. Lastly, but not the least, the documentation for policies, agreement, and response plans are required for the certification. Lastly, but not the least, we will be discussing about e-discovery. For that, a cloud provider requires to satisfy a court request for any of the legal case going on, which requires to for the cloud provider to retain and protect the data when it is being demanded. Lastly, but not the least, the data should not be deleted prematurely when it is being dealing with any kind of a legal case. So the further slides would be explained by Said.
Hi there, my name is Saad. I'm going to talk about the technical security implementation of cloud. A software product cannot be released even if it functions perfectly for the intended functionality unless it proves to be highly secured and meets the specific security and privacy standards, especially in sectors like finance. So we need to have a secure design. Thus, it needs to build at every phase to ensure the total security of the software. These are the secure software development lifecycle from the requirement phase to testing phase. Data security, we must consider different types of data and risk associated with it. There are three types of data: at rest, in transit, and in use. Considering all those types, we implement a secure design. This is our first step to identify different types of data. Now, in the second step, data should always be encrypted, whether we use as a database as a service object, store as a service, or other ways. Just only encryption will not assist us to achieve the security goal. It leads us to the third step, which is implementation of key management, which means having more control to our keys provide us the ability to complete control of our data. Since our data is sensitive, we must keep our own keys. More control we have, more responsibilities we can take on. Now the final step is, if the data is no longer in use, we can ensure a safe delete. In this way, it will not be recoverable. The most efficient and useful tool is cryptographic shredding. From an application viewpoint, the first step is to make sure there are no vulnerabilities in our application before we deploy it into our production environment. The second step is make sure the application data access is on clear need-by-need basis. We do not open data services to the whole world. Since the cloud native environment, we can create application images and set our own policy and spin up the container. Then again, if we can't find any vulnerabilities in the future, then we can spin up another container very quickly. Finally, an access to the network that seems to be coming from a suspicious network IP address, which we can block using application firewall. Also, the ability to gain visibility and insight turn the application log into actionable insights. This is how we can implement application security goals. First step is IAM and API access management. Then the second step is federated identity system, which allow trust access and verification across multiple organizations. Single sign-on allows an entity to authenticate one time, then use tokens from that system to access other independent system. Multi-factor authentication extends traditional authentication models beyond the system username and password combination to require additional factors and steps to provide more protection and assurance. As a cloud customers, we should check the certification as evidence of security control implementation policies and ongoing audit requirements being made by the cloud provider. Finally, we need system configuration modification to bring two hosting environments more in synergy. This is how we can ensure that business continuity and disaster recovery are in place. And finally, this is how we implement our financial services in cloud. Thank you so much.